Jesse M Winfrey Sr., Paw-Paw to many, including me, passed away at the age of 76 years old in Acworth, Georgia on November 15, 2023. Born April 4, 1947 in Atlanta, Georgia, he grew up in nearby Hapeville as the youngest son of Earl Thomas and Thelma Ray Winfrey, along with siblings June Wallace and Thomas Tommy Winfrey. He married Bonnie Deloris Burdette on January 21, 1972. A graduate of Hapeville High School, class of 1965, he spent a year at Georgia Tech before entering the Navy, serving 4 years during the Vietnam War. After finishing his service to our country, he entered the workforce as a telephone installer at Southern Bell and retired 22 years later. Living in College Park, Georgia, Jesse and Bonnie raised 4 kids, Michael, Earl, Frank, and Michelle. And Jesse volunteered for several hours weekly in various capacities such as Little League baseball coach, Scoutmaster of Troop 117, where he was previously a scout, singing in the church choir, helping with various projects around the church, youth sponsor at churches, bus driver for his son's football teams, assistant Girl Scout leader alongside Bonnie for their daughter Michelle, and continued serving in the Boy Scouts for as long as he was physically able. Everybody recognized him by his trademark smile and general upbeat manner as he constantly told jokes to lighten the mood and help those who were struggling work through their situations. Jesse is survived by his wife Bonnie, his oldest son Mike, and Mike's wife Lily, his second son Earl, and his wife Michael, along with their sons Elijah, Will, and daughter Michaela, his third son Frank, who is married to Dana, and their son Andrew, and his daughter Michelle, who is married to JB, and their sons Charlie, Eric, Victor, and Isaac. As his first and oldest grandson, I took it upon myself to record some conversations with my Paw-Paw so that we could always be able to hear him anytime we needed to. So as only he could do, here is Jesse M. Winfrey Sr., my Paw-Paw, in his own words. Tell me a little bit about your childhood. Like, what are some things that, you grew up really enjoying, and what were your parents like?
Well, the parents was kind of, I guess, a little on the strict side. I couldn't say any nasty words because if I did, I could feel the bells against certain parts of my anatomy. But I guess overall they did pretty good. Me, I liked riding my bicycle once I finally got one when I was about 10 years old or 11, something like that. So it was a roll-fast, red, roll-fast bicycle with white seat and white handle grip. So it was kind of nice looking. It had the small gears in the back, and that meant I had to pedal a little faster on the pedal wheel in order to engage that thing a little better. But it was just a one-speed coaster brake, and when I had to, I hit the brake, hit the wheel backwards, and I stopped. After I came to a stop, and when when it got out of control with me, I tried to find something soft, but sometimes I wound up in them bushes, and you never know when in them bushes you had them little flying things, the ones with the stingers on their tail. Sometimes they were yellow jackets, sometimes they were bumblebees, and one hornet, and the 2 types of wasps, the red wasp and the guinea wasp. Guinea wasps you had to look out for. They were a little mean, and they didn't care. They kept their fingers, so they didn't care. They just hit you and went on. Wouldn't even stop and let you fight back with them. They just went on. That was about it. I had a pair of roller skates that you put on your feet, your hard shoes, and had a key, and you strapped it against your feet with the key, and then you'd skate up and down the street my street had rocks. Other streets had asphalt and stuff, so they had a smooth surface. And now, when I went back to Hapeville not too long ago, I noticed that over the years they paved every street in Hapeville with sidewalks. So you could take off from my old house. It got torn down and a new one took its place. So you could roller skate there and go all over Hapeville. And it'd be sidewalk.
Now, was Hapeville where you lived your entire childhood, or did you live anywhere else? And what were your parents like, as far as, you know, like any fond memories of your mom and dad?
Well, when I first started life, I think I was at a place called 8th Street over in East Point. I had a girl that lived next door. She was older than me. I don't know how much older. And she used to come over and swing at my parents had rigged up for me, coming out of the rafters in the porch, and swung back and forth with. And I remember her, she used to come over about every day, waiting on the bus or whatever to pick them up and take them to school. I remember crying or something because my mother went off and I had one of those, how they call them, maids back in. I don't know what they call them now, but she was taking care of me. And I remember one time I rode in the back of a bus, what they call a feeder bus, and we went to a funeral. Turned out to be a black funeral, and it was something. My maid was, she just happened to be black, and it was kind of fun. I didn't know about that sign that said white people seat from front, black people, no, colored people, it said, seat from rear. That's what the sign eventually said, because I learned to read. But I didn't care at the time, couldn't read. Life was simple. Had a red tricycle, I rode around the house. And a couple of times I went into the kitchen, forgot there were steps there, and I'd collide with at the bottom of the steps with the cement floor, so the kitchen was an add-on, and you went down to it. So that didn't feel too good, but I got over it. And hopped back on my tricycle and rode around. And we had a TV, and it had a show I enjoyed. One of them was called Howdy Doody, and the other one was called Woody Willow. Woody Willow had a cowboy costume on. Of course, Howdy Doody, and he was wearing a cowboy costume. Lots of fun. But, yeah, my brother came in either from a late curfew or something, or beyond curfew, and I remember him and my late daddy going into a room. I don't know what was behind it, but when I started hearing the noise from behind there, I decided I was glad to be on the outside of that door and not the inside. Some things is that way.
And what was your father's name, Paw-Paw?
Earl. Same as your daddy's name.
And your mom's name was?
Thelma.
And you had mentioned your brother, obviously my great uncle Tommy. What was the relationship like between you and Tommy? And if I'm not mistaken, I think he was older than you. So how much older was he than you?
About 8 years. He graduated after my 5th grade year. So he was a senior when I was a 5th grader. So that meant he was about 8 years older than me. 7, 8, yeah, about 8 years. He missed the year of 1 grade, I think, so that put him back a grade. Or something happened and he started school late or something. I don't know. I wasn't around then. I don't know what that one was. They didn't talk too much about other ones. They were too busy with me. But he and I, we fought like cats and dogs, but we had a real good relationship. And like I said, fought like cats and dogs. So that's about what would happen when you have siblings like that, or siblings, or whatever you call it. Other words, you know, like 2 dogs fighting, or 2 cats, or cats and dogs. It takes you big. We've had some good ones. We had one right there in the living room. We'd had to go to rumble, and I was going outside, and he decided to stop me. So right there in the living room, right there around the furnace, is where I wound up and had him in a chokehold, but a headlock, but it wasn't a chokehold. I wasn't choking him. I just had him where he couldn't get out, and he was hollering things. And my late daddy was in bed because he had a problem with his knee, but he still come running out trying to break it up. Oh, I remember that one. That one was fun.
And wrestling was kind of a big deal, like in your family, right? Or was that something that you picked up after you got out?
To me, it was a big deal because we'd come in from playing back in the middle 50s. We'd be playing, and then when it got about whatever clock it was on Channel 5 down there, see, we only had 3 stations, Channel 2, 5, and 11. And when it was that time for wrestling, we'd go to the house and turn it on wrestling and see who was battling. They had one guy that was a real bad guy. He played for the Packers and then wrestled when they wasn't playing. His name was Dick the Bruiser, and he had a punch called the heart punch. He would be kicking him in the heart, and then poof, he would knock him down with a heart punch. And while they were laying on the mat, he would get up on the top rope and then lay on the throat with his leg, and the referee 1, 2, 3. One time, Dick the Bruiser went against this young guy, first match or something, and got him one of them fire extinguishers, one of them CO2 extinguishers, and got him and hosed him down with it. I was like, whoa, it was a mess. Oh God, he got what do you call a cold shoulder, head, stomach, chest, everywhere. He got cold shoulders. By the way, have you ever been hit with one of them fire extinguishers?
I have not.
Yeah. It's interesting. I was in firefighting school when I was in the service, and what it was, we didn't have the fire equipment on. It was just us and our regular clothes, our shirts and long sleeve shirts and those breeches. In other words, a Navy uniform and work uniform, I should say. And what there was a fire in a like a cake pan or something, white cake pans, and he lit it on fire, and you had to sit there with a fire extinguisher with CO2 and put it out. Me, I put it out with no trouble. couple of guys was having problems, so the instructor pulled out another fire extinguisher and started hosing them down. Said, what's the matter? Can't you put out a little fire like that? Yeah, I was number one nozzle man on a fire that they had set on an old junk plane, and my body was telling me that you're on fire, drop that thing and run. And then my mind would say, no you're not, you're still good, keep on fighting, it's almost out. And the body would say, you drop that thing and run. Mind would say, you're okay. And just when the body was gonna win, the fire went out. So in other words, mind over matter, I guess. It still wasn't any cooler, it still was hot. No matter if my mind was telling me it wasn't that bad.
So tell me a little bit about, when you were a teenager. I know you had told me a while ago about, having a car, and I'd asked you, what your favorite college football team was, and you had briefly told me that, you were kind of a Georgia Tech football fan. So tell me a little bit about that again, because I don't remember all the details on that, but I certainly would like to be able to remember that.
Well, one of the main things I remember about Georgia Tech is when I had a Boy Scout troop, and if you had a Boy Scout troop and you got to the game and put your names down and went to every home game you could, you was part of what they call the ushering crew. Got to wear an armband that said ushering crew, and what they would do is when you got there, they'd give you a hamburger and I think it was a hamburger or barbecue, something like that, and a thing of chips and a cup of Coke. And that would be the lunch, feeding us. And so then here comes the crowd after all that, and they assigned us to different parts of the stadium. And then we were ushering that year when Auburn came to town, and Auburn just happened to have that superstar called Bo Jackson, and they put us on the south stands, and that was going to be the Auburn, where the Auburn people sat, and they were so wound up and wild and full of extra sweetener with their Coke that the band came down to the field and blowing, playing the band. The band was playing, and I told them boys, I said, don't do something stupid like yell, go Tech down here. Because I looked around and there was always, every seat around there had people that had blue and orange. So they were Auburn colors. So that was funny. And it was one thing, it was good in a hot day, and I was saying, boy, I'm thirsty. I wish I had some water. And this girl says, you want some of my drink? And I sniffed her cup, and I said, oh, no. It's so hot out here, I'd probably pass out in the stands or on the floor of the stands. And then somebody bumped me, and some of her Coke spilled on me. But the Coke, it also had sweetener in it. And one of my scout troop at the time they had nasty bad habits. And one of them saw the Auburn Tiger, their mascot, and he decided to shoot him one of them things they call birds, a birdie, And it was funny because right after he did that, that Auburn Tiger mascot, he did kind of a kneeling motion, or, like he was sitting down in the chair that wasn't there, pointed to that scout, and then slapped his knee about 3 or 4 times and told him to come on over there. Had his hand out and finger out and pointing to himself and pointing to him to come on over there. And then he was slapping his knee. And it didn't take too much thinking to know what that tiger wanted to do to him. But it was a pretty good game because Bo Jackson had been tearing everybody up. All the Auburn teams they were facing, and Bo Jackson, he was tearing all of them up, all them runners and stuff. But when they played Georgia Tech, they won 14-7. I think it was 14-7, something like that. It wasn't, it wasn't a runaway. So Tech did pretty good with him. If Bo Jackson hadn't have gotten hurt, ain't no telling what he would have done. But he got hurt playing minor league baseball. Remember that?
I don't remember that, but that is good to know. That is good to know.
Yeah, he was playing minor league baseball during the off season of football. God, I can't even remember what pro team he was on, but he got on that pro team and he was tearing up the other teams in the pros.
The Raiders, I think.
They're doing pretty good. And if I'm not mistaken, I don't know if John Madden was still coaching the Raiders or not, but them Raiders, they always came up innovative plays. Came up with innovative plays. I remember that time I was watching it, and Raiders was on defense, and for some reason they couldn't catch the ball. It was a fumble, but they couldn't seem to get their hands on it. Seemed like every time they'd almost get their hands on it, the ball would bounce off their knees or feet or something and just keep going on down the field. But it's funny how they was able to recover the ball once it got in the end zone. That's how the Raiders were. And so when you got a center whose name was Jim Hall and his numbers was 00, what do you expect?
So
what you got?
So when you were a teenager, obviously, if I'm not mistaken, you went to Hapeville High. You were a Hornet there, if I'm not mistaken. And I know that you had met Nana, but I don't really know the whole story on how you met Nana, how you knew that Nana existed. So I'm just kind of curious, like, how did that all happen, when you were in high school? When did that happen? And any interesting stories you can share about that. And Nana, I know you're listening, so feel free to chime in.
Well, what I did, I played Hapeville and all that stuff, went to it, graduated in 65. I worked at a bank that changed the names now about 4 or 5 times, like they're doing everywhere. And in 66, I was given a notice to go to a street called Ponce de Leon and be there at 7 a.m. in the morning for my, what they call pre-induction physical. So that was one of those, you will be there.
For the military, right?
Right. Everybody got that one. And at the end, of the thing, they gave me a choice: Army, Navy, or jail. I should have been smart and got the Army because I was in 3 years of military, and the military ROTC, and I could have joined the Army Reserve as either E3, or I could have gone to college in the ROTC program and gone 3 years instead of 4. And I decided the Navy. My parents, go join the Navy, live the tree. So I went to California for a couple of years, San Francisco, right at the start of the Haight-Ashbury movement, hippies, that is. And it was pretty wild. I was stationed 40 miles south of San Francisco, 8 miles from San Jose, so it was kind of interesting. And then they said, okay, son, that was tour duty. They said, okay, son, you've had enough heaven. Now it's time to go to the other place. That was a flight deck of an aircraft carrier. But I got to see a lot of the world that I wouldn't get to see. I did get to see Spain, Italy, Greece, Turkey, Malta, all that area around there. And we hit some seas that made that aircraft carrier. Now we're talking 1,000-foot long aircraft carrier, how long it was, and the waves would have that thing rocking and rolling. In fact, some people, they decided they didn't like their breakfast. In other words, they had to get rid of it. You know, as in seasick.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, I found out after I got out and talking to my uncle who was in the Navy in World War I, I found out from him that whenever new guys got on as battleship he was on in World War I, that they was going to get seasick. They were either going to get seasick naturally for the rocking and the rolling of the waves, or if that didn't work, they took a hunk of fat back, tied it to a string, pushed the fat back down the guy's throat, and then whooshed it out, and that would make them throw up. Don't that sound good?
That sounds fantastic.
What happened with Nana is that I'd been dating this old gal. She kept telling me she dated other guys, and I brought her home for a date, and that was her fiance waiting on her. I said, I ain't got to take this. That's 4 years of Vietnam. 2 years. 2 years of working on a flight deck and 2 years of tour duty. I said, I ain't got to take this. I just waved by and took off in the car, my parents' car, took off and took off the following Friday. Next door neighbor said, what you gonna do? I said, well, I'll probably go to Shakey's, which was a pizza parlor, and get me a beer and a pizza. But I'd gotten a taste, ever since high school, I gotten a taste for ground beef and mushrooms. Yum, yum, yum. Ground beef and mushroom pizza. Yumma, yumma. And he said, why don't you come and watch me play football? We're at home tonight. In other words, they were in Hapeville, and I was living in Hapeville. I said, okay, be glad to. What's your number? Oh, you know who I am. Oh, I got long hair. There was only one problem with that. When I got to the stadium, got to the field, there was one problem. everybody had long hair sticking out of their helmets. And the cheerleaders had already stopped selling programs. And I had bantered around with one of the teachers I knew. I was trying to get in at the student rate, and she said, "You ain't no student." I said, "Yes, I am." I even pulled out my college ID card. I said, "See, I'm a student." She said, "Wrong school. $5 or $6, whatever it was." There was no debate about that one. So I got in, tried to find the cheerleaders selling programs, and there wasn't nobody. And then I happened to look, and not too far up the stands was two girls sitting together. One of them had crinkly hair, black hair. One had blonde hair, and wasn't very long, but it wasn't short. It was what I used to call a page boy, but they're telling me it's called a bob.
Okay.
So I knew it as a page boy back in the 60s. Page boy, bob, whatever you want to call it. Anyway, I saw somebody with blonde hair in that, and asked her what number George Walden was, and she told me, and I said, okay. Then I happened to look at her ring, and it was a senior ring that you get when you're a senior or last part of your juniors, which surprised me because she looked like she was about 14. But here I was, a 23-year-old, but I didn't look quite 14. And, yeah, you buy your senior rings once you're in, once you're a junior, if you got good enough grades, or then you become a senior, then you can buy it. And, yeah, like I said, when I saw that, I was thinking, huh? He's 17? But it was just something about her. I just sat down beside her and talked to her and her friends. Her friend, she was kind of cute, but she had crinkly hair. You know, one of those parts of hair in the middle, and yet the hair crinkles all the way down, or it's naturally curly. Anyway, I sat with them and talked with them, and little did I know that that girl, the blonde-headed one I was talking to, her boyfriend thought he'd be cute and break up with her because he had ragged her about the fact that she wasn't going to get a boyfriend. That you know, he was the only one that was going to pay any attention to her and all that stuff. Otherwise, tried to make her feel bad. And it was funny. I talked to her, sat down, talked to her. Halftime, met my old football coach coming down the ladder from the press box, and all that good stuff. And all of a sudden, from out of nowhere, a firecracker or a cherry bomb or something went off. Come to find out, it was her ex-boyfriend. He just gave up, so I guess that was his parting shot. Boom! And I guess that meant that he just gave up. And it was funny. I was talking, and the bad part about it was, well, I walked with her and her sister to the sidewalk, and we're going to talk to her a little bit, and all of a sudden the mama drives up, picks up the sister and her. And I asked my next door neighbor, how do I get in touch with that girl? Well, I got her number somewhere in the buzz book. I said, well, how about getting it and let me have it? I think I might like to go out with her again. Okay, I'll get it for you. And I was going downtown anyway. She told me she worked at Rich's, which was a department store. I said, okay, let me check it out and see what, and see if she was blowing smoke or whether she was being truthful. Because I've had enough of that phony baloney stuff. So I went down there, stopped over at Rich's, and no, I never heard of her. Never heard, no. So I went home, got me one of them razor cuts. Which was a lot better than the ones I had in the service.
Yeah.
Especially in boot camp. How you want your haircut? Just give me a small one around the ears. My barber razor slipped. Only way I can make it all even is to cut it all off. Well, that was one thing we all had in common. No hair. We were happy when we could actually part our hair.
Yeah.
It wasn't a pretty part, but it was a part.
So you went down to the department store. They didn't know who she was. So what happened after that?
Who she was, and I had asked her during our course of conversation. Well, the team was she going to the next football game? It was down in Pettville, for Fayette County, and so I wasn't doing nothing the next Friday night, so I said, well, I'll go down there and see her. I'll sit on the Fayette County side because that's the only way to get in the gate to go the other side. And I met a girl and was talking to her. Her daddy was kind of snooty. He was saying, there's plenty of room on the Hapeville side over there. I said, yeah, but I like sitting here. I had kind of a mean tooth back then. I like sitting here and Because that night I was in the Fayette County stands. Went to that football game, but nobody. And I was thinking, well, there's strike number 2.
Okay.
And I was about ready for strike number 3. And Friday afternoon, I finally got a hold of that guy again. And this time, surprise, surprise, he had her phone number. I said, okay, let me have her phone number. I'll give her a call. So Friday afternoon, I called her, asked her if she wanted to go to the homecoming game at Hapeville, of course. And she said, yeah, I'll go. And went and picked her up. Her hair was done up nice. She had on a yellow dress and yellow and purple dress and white shirt. In other words, almost like what you call them business suits, with a nice skirt and jacket and a white shirt, and she had on, I think, purple shoes. But went and had a good time. And then after the game, we went to Sony's and had us a hot fudge cake. I believe that Sony's is sort of like Friendly's.
Okay.
Is that it?
Yeah.
Friendly's?
Yep. So you're at this homecoming game. Nana decides to go with you. You go to Shoney's afterwards.
She was one of them, and I just got us a dessert. Hey, I had supper before I left home to go to the football game. I wasn't hungry. I was one hungry for dessert, but not a big old hamburger. If I'd known that she needed food, I would have bought her one. But nah, she was 80-something pounds when I met her. I should have realized she needed food.
That's funny. So Nana, I know you're nearby, so I'm gonna have you hop on for a minute, okay? What I want to do here, because I know how us men can be. Sometimes we leave out certain details for other stories, and there's maybe another story behind there. So I would like to know from your perspective how you and Paw-Paw met, and anything that maybe Paw-Paw forgot to mention before we hand it back to Paw-Paw.
He was looking for his friends. Like you said, he lived up there in Wallace with a program, so he asked me, what a number it was. So he sit there and started talking to me. And then when the game was over, he walked us up to the car and meet my mom.
Okay, and what was your initial impressions of him? Were you like, oh, he's kind of attractive, or were you like, this is a weirdo?
If I knew what I know now, I would have said he was a weirdo. But no, he was odd. Usually people talk to people, so he was odd.
And he was saying that you had told him that you worked at a department store. He shows up there. They don't know about you at all. So I'm curious, what happened with that?
I was engraving children's jewelry, so I would float from different departments sometimes.
Okay.
And he happened to go to one of them that I wasn't at.
And then he goes to another game. He doesn't see you there.
I didn't go to away games.
And then he finally sees you again. Were you like surprised by the dedication?
Yeah, I was.
And so you said, all right, we'll give him a shot because of the dedication, or was there something else?
No, I figured I'd give him a shot.
And obviously that worked out pretty well, considering you guys are obviously still together and love each other very much. I know that. So, but anything else about how you guys met that you find kind of interesting, or just kind of how everything kind of comes together when it needs to?
No, just regular stuff.
But we're certainly glad though that the cheerleaders weren't selling programs that day.
Yeah.
All right, Nana. Well, I appreciate it, and if you don't mind, I'll get Paw-Paw back on the line here, and we'll ask a couple more questions, and we'll wrap up this one. Okay. All right.
Anyway, I'm back.
Okay, Paw-Paw. So one of the things that you had told me before, and we'll end the recording with this one because I think it's a good stopping point. You were telling me before that when you were serving in Vietnam, that entertainment choices on the boat were kind of limited. That you had 2 shows that were going on. What were those 2 shows, and what was it like on the boat?
Well, whenever we had, when we was in Anchorage, all of us would get to watch, but when we were at sea, we had A and B teams, or 1 and 2, whatever they called us, and one period would be the night team, other period would be the day team. But the 2 shows that we were guaranteed was Mission Impossible. That was first. Oh no, that was second. My fault. Mission Impossible. The first was Star Trek. Star Trek, and then Mission Impossible. and sometimes they throw in a movie.
And did you have a preference between the two shows, or were you not really watching TV?
Oh, I was watching TV because, well, what could you do? And once in a while, people would rumble. Like, the A team can beat the B team. And next thing you know, whammo! Everybody was grabbing people in headlocks and throwing them on the floor, that metal floor and everything. We had tile on it, but tile didn't stop you from hitting the floor. In other words, rough housing.
Mm-hmm. And what show did you like more than the other?
Which what?
Which show did you like better, Star Trek or Mission Impossible?
Well, they both had their good points. And sometimes Mission Impossible would drag. But, well, sometimes Star Trek would drag. With Captain Kirk and Mr. Spock and that Lieutenant Arugula, or whatever her name was. That got all the black people on deck. They got them panting like a dog, saying her. She was kind of pretty back then. Remember Lieutenant Arugula, or whatever her name was.
I know who you're talking about. I'm not sure her character name though, because I'm more of a Star Wars fan. But I know who you're talking about.
You do?
Yeah.
Well, that's the one I'm talking about. In other words, a black gal. And they all wore those skirts real high. And that's when the black guys would go wild. Oh. But when we were getting, when we started getting cabin fever, that was the start of going from the med to home or to the States again. They had what's called cabin fever, and so they would play movies all night. And then towards the last, we had a guy that was a disc jockey, and after the two shows went off, then another guy, we were in off Greece at the time, and we had what's called a nightcap. In other words, ready watch, so that if the plane had to take off before its due time, we were there to help shoot it off and get it out.
Okay.
We were so close to Russia in there. And that disc jockey, he was kind of funny because there was a song that he enjoyed playing called the Motorcycle Song by Arlo Guthrie. If you hadn't heard it, you need to play it. It is. It's bad. It's a bad song. He had one. I remember one night, he was talking about they were going to have the worst song you ever heard. And they were playing things like Tiny Tim, Tiptoe Through the Tulips, Rudy Valley, Winchester Cathedral, and stuff like that. I called and I said, I want to hear the motorcycle song. That's the worst song I ever heard. He said, motorcycle song? You don't like the motorcycle song? I said, no, that's the worst song I ever heard. And then all of a sudden, come time for that song to be played, the guy said, you know, I had a guy call me up, and he had the audacity to say this was the worst song he ever had. And then he said, wait a minute. I heard him laughing as he was saying that was the worst song. Hey, I'm not stupid. He just wanted to hear that song. Well, I'm going to play it just for him. And my workmate that was with me, he said, boy, he got you, didn't he? I said, yeah. He sure did. You need to play that song whenever you can get a chance.
I'll see what I can do.
A motorcycle song by Arlo Guthrie, who happened to be Woody Guthrie's son. I don't want a pickle. I just want to ride my motorcycle. Well, and it gets worse than that.
A dachshund. You had a dachshund when you were a kid.
Yeah. I thought you knew that.
Yeah, I did. But tell me more about it. You had a dachshund when you were a kid.
Yeah, it was a full-size dachshund. And Sister June was not paying any attention and hit the pelvis of the dog. That was one of my dogs. That was one of my good dogs. It was a funny one.
What was so funny about him?
I went to hospital, had my tonsils taken out, and at the hospital, my throat was sore and all that ether and everything. Oh, it was just funny. I couldn't eat, couldn't breathe, and came home the next day, went to bed. I didn't feel like doing anything, so I went to bed. Next thing I know, my parents, they were looking around in the bedroom and all, and they said, have you seen Jesse? They said, come to think of it, no, I hadn't seen Jesse or Fritz. Hadn't seen either one of them. And he looked around, and finally, they discovered me. A dog was laying right there beside me. In other words, the dog I had to put the dog to sleep. Wouldn't that have been something? They thought he was gone, but they looked and, got close to his ears and heard him real softly breathe. I thought that's funny.
Mm-hmm. So you said the dog's name was Fritz, right?
Yeah.
How long did Fritz live?
My wonderful brother put him to sleep in 62. He cradled around for about 5 years. He survived pretty good on what he had. But no, he was a Dachshund. He wasn't a black and white. It was black and tan. It was he was brown and black.
So you remember when I said everybody beats Duke?
Yeah, I remember that. I also remember that for a while. And for a while.
And you remember what happened after I said that, right?
Yeah.
What happened?
Duke had a good time with Duke.
Duke beat my Yellow Jackets.
But that's the way football is. We were playing a team that had the best record in 3 or 4 years, and he was doing real good except one problem. Broke his leg. Kind of hard to play when you break a leg. Or have you figured that out?
I figured that out, yeah.
Wasn't too much fun either, huh?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you have everybody dressing up at church to look better than each other, and then you got you with your Looney Tunes tie. Remember that?
Oh, yeah. You talking about old Bugs Bunny?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, he was funny. One of my favorites, it came out on my birthday, I think it was that and that Easter Bunny, where at the end there, Bugs Bunny takes a hammer and starts beating on that Easter Bunny's head. Give me an A-track, give me an A-track. No, that's what you call funny.
Yeah, I go to Cathedral of St. Mattress.
Well, with y'all's busy schedule, sometimes it is that way. Doing promos and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
You come in from Georgia, next thing you know, you get a visit and an interview. Hey, I heard you went to Georgia. You went to Georgia. How was it down there? That Paw-Paw, we heard him. We heard him on the radio. Don't ask me how we heard him. We just heard him on the radio. Well, he had some cool songs. Had some cool songs, yo.
Like the bicycle song.
What song?
I want to ride my motorcycle.
Oh, God.
We were playing that.
Y'all play that up there?
We played it in the office on Friday or Thursday whenever I had my boss there because I was telling her that it was your absolute favorite song and she had never heard it, so she put it on so we could hear it.
And that it had to be the worst song that she even think about.
Yeah, but we were all talking about you, and I said, we got to play his favorite song, the motorcycle song.
I bet it tore her up, too.
She thought it was kind of funny.
I don't want to ride a bicycle. And ride my motorcycle. Funny part about it was wood train. No, not wood train. Boxcar. Boxcar Willie, his daddy, was actually a pretty good singer.
Mm-hmm.
You know, this land is my land.
Yep.
This land is your land.
You're a fan of the Beach Boys, right? That's your favorite band?
Wait a minute, what now?
The Beach Boys, isn't that your favorite?
Oh, the Beach Boys.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know. They're kind of interesting.
Don't you love their music, though?
Oh, the music?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I love the music. Round, round, get around, I get around. Yeah, gave you that flashy beat era where, you get out there and run around with your surfboard or jump out there in the water in that 10-degree water. It felt like. No, it was the beach and the kids, and they all looked pretty good. I'd have probably had a better fun if I'd have been a little more orientated. They had their own culture back in.
Were you a fan of the Beatles at all?
Not too much the Beatles. Beatles was, too high-upped. Hyped, in other words, H-I-P-E, hyped up. To me, the Rolling Stones was a much better band than the Beatles.
Why is that?
Just when you think about it, think about the music.
What's your favorite Beach Boys song?
Huh?
What's your favorite Beach Boys song?
Oh, Beach? The Beach Boys?
Yeah, what's your favorite song?
Oh, wow. You would throw that one on me. Round, round, yeah. Let's see, round, round, get around, I get around. That was always a good one. Dancing around. Never leave a home. Never leave the girls home. Wouldn't be right.
What's your favorite Rolling Stone song?
Favorite what?
Rolling Stone song.
Oh. That's the good ones. That is a good one. In fact, I still might have it. That interesting cover.
For which one?
Yeah, you talk about some fun. I think it was Through a Glass Darkly.
You want Slinky Dog to fly with you?
Yeah, she'll be all right. Got trained. It's a trained dog. You'll find that little medium dogs, like the Dachshunds and stuff like that, you'll find that they're easier to behave. Can't you imagine somebody with about 4 or 5 Rottweilers and then tore up the plane?
What are your favorite types of movies?
Such as?
Your favorite movies that you've seen?
Such as? We got lots of movies. Depends on what kind of looking you're at.
Just tell me about your favorites.
Well, one of my favorites is Snow White and the Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. That's a good one. You like that one?
Yeah, that's a good one. And what other movies do you like?
You what?
I'm asking what other movies do you like?
Oh, you talk about that. Well, I had one I liked one time. It was pretty good. It just kind of faded out. And it was, Annette Funny Toolie, that girl, Annette Funatella. That's what I'm thinking of.
I don't know if I've seen that one, Paw-Paw.
Huh?
I don't know if I've seen that one.
Annette Funatella. She died not too long ago, but they always had her playing the goody part, so that she would be carrying the family image of Disney.
So what type of action movies do you like?
Oh, good old action movies. Well, there was one I was talking about where it was Clint Eastwood, and this guy was trying to save himself, and the shoe was coming. His shoe kept coming untied. The next thing you know, the guy's shoe was gone. And there he was, hanging in the air. That's bad, ain't it?
What type of scary movies do you like?
You had Jason, some of his was pretty good. Especially when he thought he was going to beat up that boxer. That guy was a high school boxer. He thought he was going to just have some fun. Old Jason beat the shit out of him. I don't know if you remember that one or not.
I do. I just watched that one not that long ago.
Oh, did you? With Jason in New York?
Yep. That's a good one.
Pow, 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 pow. He didn't think it's too funny when Jason got him.
What type of romance movies do you like?
I ain't too much on the romance now.
What are some of the TV shows you like?
Well, tell you the truth, boy, I ain't really what to call a lot of TV shows that I enjoy. Sometimes they're funny, sometimes they're not funny.
But I know you love the court shows, the judge shows.
Yeah, except for they, oh man, they just sorry. Judge shows, they're on for about a minute and then they're gone. Then here comes some more commercials. No, I used to like them pretty good. And Judge Judy and all them, and fight.
Who was your favorite judge?
Good question. One of my favorite ones was, one of my favorite judges was,
Judge Joe Brown?
Oh, yeah, don't even mention him, baby. He's just too funny.
Did you have any TV shows that you grew up watching?
Well, it depends on which ones I watched. Sometimes I watched Family Feud, and then they got to kissing too much. And then they had, the Family Feud, they had Wheel of Fortune. Wheel of Fortune was kind of fun. And then on wrestling, on 8 o'clock, wrestling to come on.
And you would watch Raw and SmackDown, right?
Raw and SmackDown, of course. Why wouldn't you?
Why do you think you love wrestling so much?
Just the fun of it.
Was that something that your dad loved or no?
You think?
I'm asking. I don't know. I'm asking. I don't know. Was that something that you grew up watching and you wanted to pass it down, or
how could I mistake what I was talking about? You heard me laughing. We were talking about wrestling. We was all the time wrestling with in the floor with the Gorgeous George and a couple of others. Some of them old boys. You might could still find them in there, in them wrestling books. I like the Gordon Soley, the Western Story, and stuff like that. He was always something. Somebody holler, Gordon Soley, get up there and holler, and Gordon Soley. What, I think he always called him, what was it, Peanut Head? Is that what he was? They kept calling him Peanut Head, and he'd do this, do that, and he said, you quit calling me Peanut Head. What do you mean you quit? We can call you and don't want to. Hey, you can't call me Peanut Head. Hell, I don't want that. I don't like Peanut Head. I ain't gonna get one. I ain't gonna take one. I ain't gonna take it. Okay. So don't take it. Well, you just can't do that. What do you mean I can't? I can tell you right now that there's 8,000 people in here, in this auditorium, that if they want to pay their money, that they can see anything they want. In other words, they'd have a good time. And gablam, gablam, gablam.
But you've always loved wrestling, right?
Oh, yeah. In fact, they had a character who we used to come in from Friday, I guess about 3 or 4, Friday afternoon. About 3, 4, 3 to 40. In other words, what they would do is that we would come in and get in this tent and watch the TV on them and watch that. They had a character named Dick the Bruiser. He was kind of a roughie. I don't think he's reaching, you go and slap his mama too much. No, don't think so. See, the fabulous moolah. They stayed around for a while.
So, who introduced you to wrestling, Paw-Paw?
I don't know. I just watch it and gravitate to it.
So it wasn't like somebody had it on and you caught it. You kind of found it yourself.
Yeah. I didn't have to worry about catching it or anything. I just looked at it and saw it. Hey, it's all right.